All right. Well, when it comes to actual solutions, Ron DeSantis, he bats above average, I would say, in Florida. We definitely don't always agree with everything he does there, but he just did something that I think is pretty based. He introduced a new policy that will basically restore teachers' rights when it comes to unionization. Let's roll this clip.
Are going to be advancing proposals to make sure that teachers' paychecks are protected. They are not going to have, if we do these reforms, automatic deduction for school union dues. That's your choice. If you want to do it, send money. That's fine. But to have it automatically deducted when you sign an authorization form, they don't even tell you how much is being deducted. That's not right. So we want more transparency into how that is done. And we believe that a school union has a responsibility to notify the members of the costs of membership. We also believe that, and it will be reflected in this proposal, if you're somebody that's working for a school union, you should not make any more than what the highest paid teacher is making. And that's just, you have these people making huge amounts of money and the teachers are making half of that amount of money. How is that fair? How is that something that makes sense? And so having partisan groups basically get special privileges for deductions and all these other stuff, that doesn't work. And so I think this will be a huge boon for transparency.
Yeah, so I agreed with pretty much all of that. Teachers unions are pretty obviously partisan Democrat advocacy orgs. We saw that over the last few years more than ever. And teachers shouldn't have to fund them if they don't want to. And they should know exactly how much of their money is going to them. That should be purely voluntary. And I actually totally agree with his point about the union officials shouldn't be earning way more than the teachers. They're supposed to be representatives advocating for teachers, yet lots of them are cashing out on these lavish lifestyles, earning way more than teachers do. How does that make any sense?
That's right. Unions are quite the slush fund. And I think that we're going to get into the nuances of this debate here because there is some contention in libertarian circles about what the right approach to unionization is. They are somewhat private entities. Now, when we get into teachers unions, I would argue they are no longer a private entity because they are taxpayer-funded unions, which they're
all public school teachers.
Yeah, I don't think that public unions should be allowed at all. Private sector unions, yes, that's the free market. Yes, government should not really be weighing in on that much. But when it comes to public sector unions, that would be teachers, that would be police, I don't think they should be allowed. They are literally taxpayer-funded unions. That means that they take your tax dollars and then they often use them to come in and lobby against you and your rights and what you want. That's certainly what we saw with the teachers unions during the pandemic. They were taking your tax dollars, coming in and lobbying for schools to be shut down and for parental rights to be passed by. So I think that right out the gate makes them absolutely fair game. I mean, I would be fine with a governor going so far as introducing proposals to outright ban public sector unions. I don't see anything that is ideologically off with that when it comes to public sector unions. That being said, this is a small step in basically just checking these kinds of unions and saying, hey, you're not going to run amok all over our education system and take advantage of teachers. Because right now, in most states, teachers unions actually negotiate their salaries, their benefits. They often advocate for other school policies through collective bargainings. They take their funding, and the vast share of that they spend on political causes, not actually on teachers in the classroom. And they take that directly from teachers' paychecks. And then they actually roll over teacher membership year after year without any action from the teacher. So you have to actively work to get out of a union when you're a teacher versus the other way in. And so what DeSantis is doing will basically just restore teachers the agency to decide whether they want to join the union or not. And I think that is very, very necessary. According to Fox News, they said, if enacted, DeSantis's proposals would raise teacher pay while stymieing union bosses from splintering these funds out of teachers' pockets and into their own coffers. Schools would no longer be permitted to fund unions directly out of teachers' paychecks. Unions would need permission from teachers each year to keep them on their membership rolls and to restrain what they call zombie unions that no longer enjoy widespread teacher support from terrorizing students and parents. The blueprint would require that unions represent over 50% of teachers to engage in collective bargaining with the district. So basically saying you can't come in and hold a bunch of teachers hostage if over 50% of them have not even opted to join your union. And I think this is a very based model that could definitely be expanded across other states. And I think it's necessary because we have seen that these kinds of policies have actually been the most effective at restraining union thuggery, which ran amok in this country from FDR throughout the vast majority of the 1900s. I mean, people just didn't have very many rights. Workers were often forced to join these entities. They had their pay usurped by them, and the government backed that up. We've seen a shift in that in recent decades where a majority of states have now passed what's called right-to-work legislation, which basically just says you can have a union, but you can't be forced to join it. It's as simple as that, right? There's nothing at all that prevents you from joining a union. If that's what you want to do, have at it. I think it's stupid to do so, but if you want to, you're free to be stupid. But
I want to negotiate my own salary, my own benefits, thank you. I want to be treated and compensated as an individual, not as some part of some collective blob, and then I get the average. Well, I'm above average, sweetie, and I want that reflected in my compensation. So I'm a hard pass on all of that. I think DeSantis is being smart here because the natural response attack is DeSantis is attacking teachers. He's anti-teachers, and everybody loves teachers in society. And look, there are a lot of great teachers. I had some great teachers in my public schools growing up. I also had some not so great ones, but that's a story for another day. But by increasing teacher pay, because whether you agree with it or not, there's a widespread belief that teachers are underpaid. And I think it's more complicated than that. I think the unions have unfortunately rigged a system where teacher pay is related to seniority rather than merit. So young teachers or who are early in their career are very underpaid, yet veteran teachers are, I think, heavily overpaid often. So I think it's a little more complicated, but he's raising teacher pay while scaling back the unions. So that kind of deflates the criticism of, oh, he's anti-teacher a little bit there. So I think that's smart.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And if teachers are in any way underpaid, period, it is thanks to unions and the administrative state within these school bodies, because we are spending $15,000 per kid per year on average in the public school system.
Way more than other countries.
Way more than other countries, way more than what most private schools charge to go to. I went to one of the top private schools in Louisville growing up, and I think it was like $5,000 a year. Like, it dwarfs the vast majority of private school spending.
That was before Bidenflation, though.
That was before Biden inflation. That was, oh God, way longer ago than I want to admit at this point. But anyways, I think you're right. This actually is exactly the right kind of move. And even though we do have things like right to work in many states, things like the Janus Supreme Court decision that also said specifically public sector unions could not force people to pay into them, we still see unions and specifically Democrats trying to help the unions working to overturn those laws in many ways and places.